Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, as we, a bunch of international friends, gather together to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. And it is Friday, guys. Congratulations. You made it to the end of another week and a great weekend ahead. A really great weekend ahead, because a lot of us are going to go see Shazam tomorrow. So I'm super stoked about that. I even ordered myself a brand new Shazam shirt so I can wear to the screening tomorrow. I'm totally pumped about this thing. Now, you're going to notice I'm just on my own here today, as I like to do on a lot of Fridays. I like to give everybody else the day off on Friday to enjoy the weekend. So it's just me today and you guys as we all talk about our favorite things. Now, hey, before I get started, another shameless plug. By the way, guys, for those of you who have not heard of it by now, me and Robert and our friend Olympic gold medalist Cody Miller have started a new podcast you can get on iTunes and all your favorite podcasting services called Best Movie, Worst Movie. We're having a great time with it. We cannot believe how good of a start it's had. Thank you to all of you guys who subscribed. If you haven't checked it out yet, go find it, check it out, subscribe to it, rate it, comment on it, all that sorts of good stuff. So thank you guys for all the support you've given the new podcast. Okay. With that stuff out of the way, let's dive into some stuff today. We're going to go off the top with this before we get to our main topics. You know, one of the things that we've been talking about around here on the John Campea Show recently, myself and Rob, this really bothers Rob because Rob loves physical media. And it's pained him to say that, you know, physical media is dying. You know, we've seen a huge decline in sales of Blu-ray players. Samsung, as we talked about the other week, has announced that they're going to the number one manufacturer of Blu-ray players, they're going to stop making Blu-ray players. We've seen a 30% drop in just 2 years of Blu-ray disc sales. It's just people not buying Blu-rays anymore. So we've been talking a lot about that the last couple of weeks. And now, one of the newest signs, you see, because when you talk about the decline in Blu-ray sales, Blu-ray player sales, a lot of people will point to, well, but John, you know, PS4 can play Blu-rays and Xbox can play Blu-rays, and that's absolutely correct. So maybe there's that. Of course, that doesn't explain the drop in Blu-ray disc sales, but there's that. Well, guess what? There's been another big sign coming out of the decline of physical media, and that's this. The Xbox One of the two major consoles, they're coming out with a discless game console. It's going to be a regular Xbox One, except it's not going to have a disc player in it, and it's not going to have an eject button. Obviously, you don't need an eject button. And it's going to be built for all streaming media. Just all downloadable stuff and all that kind of nonsense and everything like that. And apparently, that's going to drop the price a bunch, too. So this Xbox that we're going to have coming out that doesn't play any physical media, including the game discs or Blu-rays, is going to be coming out lower price point, all that kind of stuff. And you know that PlayStation's going to follow suit at some point. So again, not a huge piece of news. And again, we're not here to talk about video games per se, but as pertains to physical media and Blu-rays and everything, this is just a sign. Now, this is not to say that Xbox is going to stop making other consoles that do still play physical media. They are. But I think this thing here is a sign of things to come. They're introducing it now, and you know it's just going to be a matter of time because they're going to release this. It's going to be at a cheaper pricing point. It's going to blow up in sales, and then eventually more and more you're going to see they're going to have more emphasis on these streaming media boxes instead of the physical media boxes, and then PlayStation 4 is going to do it, and it's just kind of another sign of the times, I guess, about the fate of physical media and where things are at right now. So let me ask you guys, if you guys are gamers and you play consoles, are you going to be looking at getting this new Xbox that's coming out? It's going to be at a cheaper price point. The only thing is it doesn't have the physical media playing, but you can still download all the games. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what you guys think. All right, the next thing I want to talk about here before we get on to our main topics is this. Us, the new Jordan Peele film, is now out and in theaters, and I had a chance last night to go watch it. What did I think about it? Because it's getting rave reviews. Last I checked, it has 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Get Out was great, all this kind of stuff. The trailers have looked fantastic. What do I think of Us? Here's what I think of Us. Us, and I put this up on my Instagram yesterday, Us is an interesting, certainly different, and at times brilliant new film from Jordan Peele. At times it's brilliant. But overall, a flat and unimaginative ending, combined with the fact that it was weirdly predictable in a number of spots through the film, leaves us, in my opinion at any rate, being a good movie. And good is better than most films out there. But Jordan Peele's new film is a good movie. It's certainly a win, another win for Jordan Peele, just not as resounding of a win, in my opinion, as, say, Get Out was. Now, I'm not going to go into any spoilers or anything like that as I talk about the film. But yeah, I thought, in talking about Get Out, I really enjoyed Get Out. I left a little bit deflated because what I thought the ultimate payoff in the film was a little bit underwhelming. And I won't give away a spoiler for any of you who haven't seen it, but for those of you who have seen Get Out, you know what I'm talking about. The big ultimate reveal at the end, to me, was a little bit, really? That's what this whole mystery was building up to? That? But it didn't bother me per se. It just deflated my enthusiasm a little bit. Overall, I still thought it was a great movie and had a great time with it. And I thought Jordan Peele, it was a total triumph for a first directorial effort by Jordan Peele. I gotta say, again, without giving anything away, there are some critics out there that are loving the ending to this film, and that's cool. But I gotta say, I had that same feeling, only it was worse. Like when the big ultimate reveal happens at the end, I'm like, really? That's what this was all building up to? This now, the build up, the main body of the movie is really quite good. Only hampered, again, as I said a little before, for a movie that's so different and so unique, it's strange how there are a number of parts in this film that were really predictable. Like that you could telegraph what's about to happen in the next 30 seconds from a mile away. Sometimes not. But sometimes you could. So as I was going through the main body of the film, I was really enjoying it. The scenes you see in the trailer, like the scene in the trailer where you have the two families in the living room, the two doppelganger families sit in the room facing each other, that entire scene is amazing. Just amazing. And you know how in the one scene, or in the one trailer, you have that shot of Elizabeth Moss from Handmaid's Tale, like crawling across the carpet? That scene that shot is in, that whole scene, awesome scene. There's a number of great scenes and I was really thoroughly enjoying myself, not thinking this is the best movie I've seen all year because it was a little bit predictable here and there and all that kind of stuff, but it was really enjoyable. I gotta say this though, Lupita Nyong'o. Now, you all know I go gaga for Lupita Nyong'o, and I have ever since 12 Years a Slave, but she legit, it's hard to say this early, but I'm going to call it right now. Lupita Nyong'o is going to get a Best Actress nomination for this, and fully deserved. Her performance in this is crazy. As a matter of fact, Winston Duke is great in this movie. The kids, and I feel bad because I don't know the name of the kids. Maybe I should have looked it up. But the girl who plays Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke's daughter, crazy good. Like crazy good. Because we see in the trailers, the family, each member of the family has their own doppelganger, right? This little girl is great as the little girl. As the doppelganger, I can't remember the last time a single character freaked me out as much as this little girl as her doppelganger. Freaked me out. But Lupita Nyong'o, she carries this movie. This is her movie. She is amazing in this. Like seriously, she will be nominated for Best Actress for this. I can't imagine there being 5 other performances coming this year that are going to be better. If we do get 5 better actress performances this year, it'll be one of the greatest years in the history of cinema for actresses because, oh my God, she's so good in this. But again, I'm just going to say, when you get into the third act, and really more specifically, the last half of the third act, right? So the last 15% of the movie or so, as the big reveal is made and you understand what this has all been about, I was kind of like, oh, that's it. And then me and my buddy Soul Video, we went to a yard house that's right beside the theater, and we sat down. We talked about all the things we liked about the movie, but the more we talked about the ending, it's like we came up with about 40 different things that made absolutely no sense. And it just, I don't know, when you build up a movie as great as this movie builds up through the first 2.5 acts, it's really a shame when the movie can't stick the landing. Now, listen, take that with a grain of salt, because there are a lot of other critics out there who love this ending. So maybe you'll love the ending. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. This is just one man's opinion. Just one man's opinion. And there are a lot of other critics who love it, and maybe you will too. But again, that ending kind of took me from feeling like this is a great movie to this is a good movie. It's a good movie, but didn't quite reach great. Still, on the basic scales of do I give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I absolutely give it a thumbs up. It is another win for Jordan Peele. It's a really entertaining film. A lot of things very different, a lot of things very different, very unique, a little predictable, and then at the end, didn't stick the landing for me, but it wasn't so bad that it kind of undid all the good work it did in the first 2.5 acts of the film. So still something worth watching. That's just my take on Us. Did you guys have a chance to see Us yet? If so, jump down in the comments section below and let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with my assessment? Where do you disagree with it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Okay, with that stuff out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics of the day. And how do we select our main topics on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You guys select them by sending your topics and questions to me anytime by going to the website www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you get to this page, you'll see a form. Just simply fill out the form, send it on in, and maybe you'll see your topic or question pop up on the John Campea Show. All right, let's get on to the first message today. And the first topic we've picked today comes to us from Sebastian Dietz, who writes, so now that the mouse house swallowed the sweet fox pie, what do you think will happen to Dark Phoenix? With all the negative reviews, well, there haven't been any negative reviews. Just to be clear, there have been no reviews. With all the negative reviews, do you think it's plausible for them to put it directly to Disney Plus? Or is this too long, considering the majority of the movie's cost is already spent and they need to get the box office money back, even if it's on the way of flopping? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Sebastian. And yes, a big question going around right now is Dark Phoenix. Now, we are less than 3 months away from this movie coming out. Okay, we're I don't know, what are we at here? Maybe like 10 weeks away? I haven't done the math, but we're not that far away from Dark Phoenix coming out. There has been word floating around. There have been no reviews. Let's be clear about that. There have been no reviews of this movie. What there have been, including a couple that I have heard, some reports from people, close to the movie saying the movie did not work out the way they were hoping it would work out. That the movie is in a little bit of a mess. But hey, I haven't seen the film. I don't know that that's true. You haven't seen the film, so you don't know that that's true. But that's kind of the scuttlebutt going around. There's a phrase I haven't used in like 10 years, scuttlebutt. Anyway, that's the scuttlebutt going around right now, is that Dark Phoenix is a bit of a mess of a film. But we don't know that. There haven't been any reviews. So let's hold our horses on that. With Disney launching Disney Plus, there's been a lot of speculation both about Dark Phoenix and the New Mutants, because it looks like New Mutants is going to go straight to streaming, because apparently they have half the film to reshoot and they haven't even started the reshoots, and it looks like that's not going to happen, so whatever. But it's got a lot of people asking, could Dark Phoenix just end up going straight to streaming? There are some arguments for why, yes, it should. If it's not going to be received that well, maybe you use it as another incentive to get people who are into X-Men, the last major X-Men film to be made outside of Marvel, come and watch it on Disney Plus. I mean, so there's an incentive for that. That speaks to it. But honestly, I can't see any scenario, to be honest, that they don't release this in theaters. Couple things keep in mind. Number one, the budget on it's already spent. They already spent that money. It's spent. Number two, they've already spent probably $30 million in marketing this thing. So it's not like, oh, we could save ourselves all that marketing money if we just put this thing straight to streaming. Well, that's not true. I mean, they've already spent a bunch of it, and they probably only have another like 30 million they're going to spend. I don't expect they're going to spend $150 million on marketing this thing. So it's probably only about another 30 or $40 million that they need to spend on the marketing. So let's just for a second assume, even though there's no reason to assume this, but just for the sake of the argument, let's just assume for a second for fun that X-Men Dark Phoenix is an absolute flop. Let's say it makes $200 million worldwide total, okay? It'll make more than that, but let's say, just for the sake of argument, absolute flop makes $200 million worldwide. Okay. That's still $200 million. So, like if you're Disney right now, if you're Bob Iger and you're looking at X-Men Dark Phoenix, and you'd say, okay, so bare minimum we'll make on this if we put it in theaters is probably about $200 million. And all we have to do at this point to get that $200 million is spend another $30 or $40 million in marketing. Well, then that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. Would you spend $30? Would you not spend $30 to get $200? Of course you would. That's basic math. Then on top of that, they can still put it up on Disney Plus whenever Disney Plus is ready to launch. So you get to have your cake and eat it too. Put it in, and the reality is this movie is probably going to make minimum 300. So if you're going to try to make, if you can automatically get, and you know you're safely get 200 to 300 million by just spending an extra 30 or 40 million, because the production money has already been spent. A bunch of the marketing money's already been spent. So that money's been spent. All you got to do now is put another 30, 40 million and you get 200 to 300 million. It's no questions asked. No questions asked. So is it possible they surprise us and take Dark Phoenix and put it straight to Disney Plus? Possible, I guess, but it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any financial sense. And at the end of the day, that's what they're most concerned about. So I fully expect, and not to mention, we're so close now. It's not like this movie isn't scheduled to come out for another 7 months. We're less than 12 weeks away. So yeah, I fully expect that we're going to see Dark Phoenix in theaters. Whether that's going to be a good experience or bad, I don't know. We're going to have to wait to find out, but I do expect it to be in theaters. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today is sent in to us from Andreas, who writes, "It's theory time." Okay, here we go. "Do you buy that the unused shots from the Infinity War trailer, Cap, Hulk, etc., running towards the camera in Wakanda, are actually part of a time travel plot in Endgame? Would Marvel use budget and time to film such a scene specifically, put great visual effects on it for a trailer?" All right, thanks a lot for the message, Andreas. Here we go. Ever since we saw in Avengers Endgame, or Infinity War, I should say, that this big money shot from the Infinity War trailers was not in the movie. Once we saw Infinity War and we saw, oh, this shot is not in the movie, the speculation has been rampant that, well, wait a minute. What if that's a shot from Endgame? What if this is a shot that they actually shot, but they're using it for Endgame and they just slid it into the trailer here? That has been a popular, ongoing theory. And the theory has evolved a little bit in different shapes and forms, but ultimately down to the same root. That this shot is not a fake shot. It's a shot from Endgame. And they put it in the Infinity War trailer to use as a misdirect, and they're still going to use it again in Endgame. Okay, let's look at some of the possibilities about why something like that could feasibly be possible. Number one, they did shoot Infinity War and Endgame back to back. However, it is important to note they didn't shoot them at the same time. Remember, they did all the shooting for Infinity War, wrapped that film, took a very short break, and then went right into shooting Endgame. It's not like they were shooting it all together at once and then separated out the Infinity War scenes into the Infinity War movie and sorted out all the Endgame scenes into the Endgame movie. It's not like that was the case. They shot one, wrapped, then they went on and shot the second one, which is Endgame. And that's what we got here. So could you possibly? Let me give you my reasons why I really don't think this is a shot from Endgame at all. The main reason, and number one, is, again, they didn't shoot shots and scenes for Endgame while they were shooting Infinity War. They just shot Infinity War, wrapped it, went on to the next. The other thing, you're saying, like, why would they spend all that money for a trailer? Well, Disney probably spent about $150 million to $200 million in marketing in Infinity War. They spent a lot of money on marketing that. To do this one shot would be a small fraction of that. Because look, they probably had tons of shots of all these people running together. Remember, of all the stuff you see on screen, there's a whole ton of footage that doesn't get used in the movie. They'll shoot different things from different angles and different ways, and then in the editing room, they'll select everything the way they want it. So a shot like this one, minus the Hulk, a shot like this one with Bucky, Widow, Okoye, T'Challa, Steve, all running into battle, that was probably something that was shot. So it's just footage that was there for them to use. To then just CGI in Rhodey and Sam is super easy. They have tons of footage of War Machine flying around and Falcon flying around. That's super easy. All you got to do is take that footage and just composite it into the shot. And then you probably have loads of Hulk footage that you can just plop it into that shot. But we've already got the Hulk model from Thor Ragnarok. We don't have to design the model. We don't have to rig it up. We don't have to do all the things you need to do. It's already there and ready to go. Oh, great. Do me a favor. Give me a quick animation of that model running like this and render it out. They do that, hand it over to the compositor, composite it into the shot, boom. And then the other thing they did was they just changed the background, make it look like they're in a forest instead of in that big open plain like they did the battle in Infinity War. This shot probably took no more than a couple of days to put together. In a marketing campaign that costs more than most movies cost, so it really was no big issue. Also, and then of course again, as we get into Endgame, Cap doesn't have the beard anymore. He's not wearing that costume per se and all that kind of stuff. So this shot was really actually very easy for them to put together. Did not take a lot of time, did not take a lot of man hours, and they were able to slap that together. And it probably didn't cost them much at all. And it was a huge misdirect that was probably worth every penny. So then we get into the question of possibilities. Is it possible that Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers want to use that shot? Because really, that's the only shot we're talking about, right? There's really not a lot of other high-profile shots from Infinity War that were misdirects. There was the Thanos without the Infinity Stones on Captain America's shot. They're not going to use that in Endgame. Then there was that shot. So this is really the only shot we're talking about. In the realm of possibilities, is it possible? Absolutely. The Russos and Kevin Feige and, D'Esposito could be throwing us a curveball. It's possible. Is it likely? Probably not. The most likely scenario is that was an easy shot to make. They didn't shoot these things concurrently. I think it was specifically just to do a little misdirect. So I, for one, am not expecting to see that shot in Endgame. I'm not expecting to see that shot in Endgame. So that's where I'm at. But a lot of you guys have different theories on that. What are your theories? Do you think we're going to see that shot that was used in the Infinity War trailers, but not in the movie? Do you think we're going to see that in Endgame? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what you think. All right, let's move on now to the third topic today. And the third topic today is sent in to us from Xander Tanagawa, who writes, "Hello, John Campea and everyone on the show. I don't know if you've heard about this, by recently Netflix accidentally released a show list that people can watch who are fans of Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. Wait, what? Apparently Netflix made a mistake of releasing their upcoming Jurassic World TV series title that was a top secret we weren't supposed to know coming this year. What's your thoughts on what this new Jurassic World series is about, live action or animated? Thanks." All right. For those of you who don't know what Xander is talking about, there have been a bunch of headlines running around the last 24 hours that Netflix developing secret Jurassic World show. This is going to be called Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous and blah, blah. And all these headlines are running, right? Okay. Are they doing it? And then Xander sends in a question saying, "John, did you hear about this new Netflix Jurassic World show? Do you think it's going to be animated or live action?" Which is understandable because he's seeing these headlines. Here's the thing. I always tell you guys, when you see headlines that seem a little odd, track it to its source. What is the source? Where is this story coming from? Because a lot of times, no matter how many sites are running it, they'll all reference the same source. This is what the smoking gun is, as it were. This is where this whole theory has come from, that Netflix is secretly working on a Jurassic World show called Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. This is where it all comes from. Does it come from a Universal studio head? Nope. Did it come from Chris Pratt? Nope. Did it come from a Netflix executive? Nope. This, what I'm about to show you, is where all these headlines are coming from. It's coming from this. You see, somebody, because they probably heard that Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous was registered by Universal at some point, somewhere, whatever. Somebody on Netflix started searching for Jurassic World Camp. And it pulled up a result saying, Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous? And then suggested other movies and other things on Netflix that you may like if you like Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. So this got everybody. So this was a screen capture taken by somebody and then put up into a tweet. And that's what this is all coming from. Netflix accidentally let it slip that they're working on this movie. And blah, blah, it all came from this. Now, for those of you who use Netflix regularly, you already see the problem here. For those of you who don't, let me point out what the problem is. When you search for something on Netflix, and then other people search for it on Netflix, it kind of works a little bit the way Google search works, right? That it will show you what other people have been searching for if something else has come up. So if one person at one point had typed in Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, and then somebody else comes around and types in Jurassic World Camp, it'll bring this up as a suggestion. That doesn't mean it is in the Netflix library, nor that it's about to be in the Netflix library. So I did a little test. I wanted to test that. So this morning, I went down to my TV, I opened up Netflix, and I thought of a film that I know is not on Netflix. BlacKkKlansman, not on Netflix. Probably never going to be on Netflix. So I decided to do a search for BlacKkKlansman. So surely, since BlacKkKlansman is not on Netflix, and it's probably not going to be on Netflix, surely it won't pop up in the search results, right? Well, here's what happened. I opened up Netflix. I just typed in black. That's it. Just BLACK. That's all I typed. And what came up, I snapped a picture of this on my TV. BlacKkKlansman came up as the third option. At first it did Black Mirror, because clearly lots of people searched Netflix for Black Mirror. Then Blackish, and then BlacKkKlansman came up. And look what else it says there at the top. Titles related to BlacKkKlansman. But BlacKkKlansman's not on Netflix. Yet it still will give you titles related to BlacKkKlansman. And it brought up a whole bunch of other options. That does not mean that Netflix is working on a BlacKkKlansman show. That does not mean that BlacKkKlansman is imminently about to pop on. It just means that somebody else got on Netflix before and searched for BlacKkKlansman. That's really all it ultimately means. So there are some people trying to, put forward and propose to us that this screenshot is the smoking gun that Netflix is secretly working on a Jurassic World show. And I'm simply here to tell you, it's not a smoking gun. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove a thing. Now, I will say this. Does this not proving anything 100% mean that Netflix is not now, nor ever will be working on an original Jurassic World show? No. Just because this isn't a smoking gun and this isn't proof that they are working on something, it's not necessarily proof that it's impossible. And it's also not necessarily proof that they couldn't possibly do it. Of course it's a possibility. Anything's a possibility. I mean, right now, Netflix could be working on a Jaws TV show for all we know, right? They could be working on a Jaws show. We got no evidence that says that they are, but they might be. And they might be working on a Jurassic World show. My only point is that this is not the smoking gun that everybody's trying to propose it to be. So I would not put any stock right now into a Universal or a Netflix is going to be doing a Jurassic World. Now, what some other people are saying is, but John, didn't you hear the report that Universal registered a trademark on Camp Cretaceous? Okay, yeah. But lots of studios will register and lots of names that has anything to do with their thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the thing they do next. So, yeah, when you see people in these headlines running, take it with a grain of salt and understand there is no smoking gun. Okay, with that down and out of the way, let's move on now to the fourth message today. And the fourth message today comes to us from Billy Posey, who writes, "Who, in a movie's production, decide what's in a trailer? I remember an interview with Leonard Nimoy talking about how upset he was when he saw the Enterprise's destruction in the trailer of Star Trek III. When it was presented to him, I always wondered why didn't he have them change it since he is the director?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Billy. And yes, this is a question that gets brought up a lot, and we've addressed it a couple of times, but people still ask about this. Aren't directors in charge of the trailers? The answer to that question is no. Directors aren't in charge and actually have no say in the trailers. Now, there are a couple of very, very rare exceptions. Very rare exceptions. In the case of like a Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan, who has all the power in the world, in his deal with Warner Brothers, he gets to veto. I don't believe he puts the trailers together himself, but he has veto power over what does and does not go into a trailer. I believe Guillermo del Toro may also have that deal with one particular studio. But for the vast majority, the general rule of thumb, though, is that no. With the very, very odd and very rare exception, directors have no say in what goes into the marketing. Why? They're the directors, yes, but the trailers are not the movie. The directors make the movie, but it's not their job to then sell the movie. Directors are filmmakers. They're not marketers. They don't understand marketing. Most directors don't know the first thing about marketing. And by the way, the production company is not the company that does the marketing anyway. It's the distribution company. The distribution company decides where this movie's going to go, for how long, what the terms of it are, and they are the ones that look after the trailers and the marketing. They're the distributors. They're the ones who decide how we're going to sell this thing. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. Now, take for example, this. Guillermo del Toro's film, The Shape of Water, right? Won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. It's a great film. Guillermo del Toro had a lot of power over those trailers. There's a reason that movie didn't even make $200 million. That great Guillermo del Toro movie that won Best Picture of the Year, I don't believe it even made $200 million. Let me just double check this just to be sure. Hold on a second. Shape of Water, box office. $195 million. It didn't even make $200 million worldwide. Why? Because it wasn't the best marketing campaign and it wasn't the best trailers. If the distributor really had free reign to let a trailer house go nuts, you probably would have seen this movie make $350 million because they would have marketed it better. But they didn't. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what matters to these guys. So in a situation like Leonard Nimoy, why didn't he change it? Because he didn't have the power to change it. You know, we hear a lot of different examples about directors who are unhappy with trailers that get made because maybe it gave something away they didn't want to have given away, but that's not their call to make. It's at the discretion of the distribution company because they're the ones who need to bring in the money. They're the ones who need to bring in the money, and their job is to sell the film. Hey, director, it's your job to make a great film. So you worry about making a great film. That is your job. That's your role. Make a great movie. Our job is to sell that movie. You stay in your lane, bro. You make a great movie. You don't know squat about marketing. You don't know squat about selling. Leave that to us. We will go and sell the movie. We will go and make sure as many people as possible will come and watch this movie that you made You make, we sell. That's kind of the arrangement. And there are a lot of people, look, I get both sides of the argument here a little bit. There are a lot of people who want directors to be in charge of the marketing. It's their movie. Well, yeah, but again, they don't know squat about how to sell something. That's not their field. That's not their expertise. There are people who've made an entire career out of studying, analyzing, and knowing how to sell. So they're the ones in charge of selling. The drawback of that, of course, well, the positive side is that marketing campaigns get made that bring in more people to the theaters than if the director put a trailer together. The drawback, though, is sometimes we get trailers, as we're seeing, that maybe give away too much of a movie. I mean, that's been a growing concern in the last number of years, is that sometimes trailers give away too much. And that is something that a lot of us worry about. So the upside of that, you stay in that lane, we stay in this lane. The upside is you get more effective marketing campaigns that make more money for the movie, that gets more movies made. Excellent. The drawback is that sometimes things get put in the trailer that the director wouldn't have wanted in the trailer. Maybe they give away a few surprises the director didn't want to give away. So it's a little bit of a give and take. So yeah, generally that's how it works, is that the directors don't have any say, and there are a few specific exceptions to that. Maybe 4 or 5 or 6 directors in the business are big enough that they can actually get that kind of pull, but for the most part, they can't. So anyway, I hope you find that helpful. Let me know your thoughts. Jump down in the comment section below, guys, and let me know what you think. All right, let's go on now to the final topic today. And the final topic today comes to us from Danny, who writes, "Hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, Danny. With fantasy getting more attention and dragons being the main attraction of huge shows like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings TV show, by the way, are there going to be dragons in the Lord of the Rings TV show? I don't know that there are. Anyway, what do you think the chances are of an Eragon reboot is?" All right, thanks a lot for that, man. Eragon. Wow. Okay, so for those of you who don't remember, Eragon was a very successful series of books. So successful that they decided, let's make a movie. And they went ahead and they made a movie. And they got together a pretty damn good cast. They got Djimon Hounsou. They got Jeremy Irons. They got John Malkovich. I mean, they got some pretty good heavy hitters in this. And they made a world-class piece of trash movie that was so desperately a Star Wars ripoff. I'm telling you, look, you hear a lot of people say, oh, that movie's like Star Wars and that movie's like Star Wars. Yeah, that's fine. There's similar themes. Eragon the movie was a beat-by-beat Star Wars movie. It was Star Wars A New Hope, completely just about beat for beat. And I remember a lot of the critics at the time were like, what? But it just was a very, very bad one. And I've heard several stories about how Jeremy Irons, the biggest regret of Jeremy Irons' career was being in that movie. Which, once you watch the movie, if you've seen it, you know exactly why. This movie is abysmal. Just terrible. The question, though, is, could there be upside to rebooting it and taking another crack at it? You know what? I'm going to say yes. Look, forget the last movie. Get better filmmakers involved. And by the way, this movie was directed by a first-time director, which is yet again why you shouldn't give really big budget tentpole things to first-time directors. Let them cut their teeth on smaller things. But at any rate, put it in the hands of new filmmakers. There are still a lot of people that love this novel series. It's great source material that can be pretty popular. Dragons, sword and sorcery, all that kind of stuff. There's potential here. I believe there's potential in doing this. A lot of time, I believe this was a film that came out in 2006. So you've had like 13 years since that film came out. So you've got a lot of distance between us and the train wreck that was the original film. Fine. So why not? I mean, there's enough in there that if you put this in the hands of the right team, they could make something worth it. And if you market something like this right, it taps into some popular veins in the world of entertainment right now that you could exploit and get some people out to the theaters. Look, would an Eragon reboot be $1 billion franchise? No, but you don't need it to be $1 billion franchise. Make a film like this for 120, 130 million bucks. Make 450 million at the box office. Make a little profit, call it a day, and maybe then you can even look at a sequel. So I would think that, yeah, it is completely worth it to take a shot at this. What do you guys think? Do you think it's worth it, or do you think the stain of that first movie is so bad there's no coming back from it? Jump down to the comments section below and let me know what you guys think. Okay, guys, with all the main topics out of the way, I like to save a bunch of time here on the John Campea Show to take live questions from the audience because, you know, we're doing the show live. Why not take live questions? So let's jump over to the live question board right now and see what you guys are wanting to talk about. And we're going to start things off with Cameron Wiskovich, who writes, John, it's my birthday today. Stay strong. Happy birthday, Cameron. I hope you have, it's nice that your birthday falls on a Friday because you don't have to worry about getting up for work tomorrow morning. Happy birthday to you, sir. I hope you have a fabulous one, Cameron. Magic K writes, one more day, Shazam. I am positively giddy about this. I've been excited about this ever since they announced that Zachary Levi was going to be playing it. Not because I think Zachary Levi automatically makes a good movie, but because by casting Zachary Levi, they kind of confirmed what kind of movie this was going to be. Because you only cast a Zachary Levi if you're going to give the movie a certain tone. And that's the right tone for Shazam, in my opinion. I'm super stoked. Gonna see it tomorrow. Cannot wait for Shazam. Christopher Benson sends in a super chat. Thank you, Christopher. Our friend Kevin Rubio writes in, happy birthday, Bill Shatner. It is Captain Kirk's birthday today, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the good Canadian kid turns 88 years old. It's crazy. Dude's still totally sharp. And like, I would honestly put him at like 70. I would honestly put William Shatner at like 70. 88 is crazy. But yeah, William Shatner, Captain Kirk, turns 88 years old today. I believe it's 88. It could be off by a year or two. Mads Jada writes, how do you get started in the film business? How did I get started? Well, long story short, I was living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And I started a blog before anybody even knew the word blog. I started a blog so all my friends back in the Hamilton, Toronto area, I could keep up to date with them about what's going on with me, post pictures, just say what's going on with me. It was a really good, efficient way. And I just realized that like 70% of all the stuff I was blogging about was about movies anyway. So I decided to start a new blog to just talk about movies. This was so early that when I went and searched for the domain name themovieblog.com, it was available. So I registered it, launched my movie blog site, and that was the beginning. Like 11 readers a month turned into 250,000 readers a month. I got into it. They did an article on me in Time Magazine. I won some awards. I made my first $400 check from Google Ads. I had some friends of mine held what we call the intervention, and they said, you need to quit your job at the law firm. I quit my job at the law firm, started doing blogging full time, eventually sold the site, made a little movie. AMC asked me to start up an online division for them, so I did, and the rest is there. So it all started just with me launching a little blog and working really hard at it, but that's how I started. Anyway, John Michael Lozada writes, if the Infinity Gauntlet was destroyed after the snap, how was Thanos able to teleport away soon after? Well, the Infinity Gauntlet wasn't destroyed. The terminology that the Russo brothers use is permanently damaged. That's what the Russo brothers called it in the Infinity War director's commentary. They said it's permanently damaged. The way I kind of think of it, and this is just me, is that you've seen in tons of movies where a car gets into the heroes in a car get in a major car accident. Then they drive away. But like 5 minutes after they drive away, the car's like, blah, and then the car dies, right? So it got into an accident that wrecked the car, but it was able to run just long enough to get them out of that scene, and then the car dies. We've seen it 1,000 times in movies. I'm guessing, and it's only a guess, it's just a guess. I'm guessing that's kind of what happened with the Infinity Gauntlet. He snapped it, the gauntlet's like all mangled up now, but it had just like the juice to open one more portal, and he got through the portal. And then, blah, it's now permanently damaged. But I don't know. I don't know if the Russos mean by permanently damaged that it's now only at 5% of its power, or that it doesn't work anymore at all, or who knows? We're going to find out when we see Endgame. But that's how I've always kind of envisioned it, John. All right. James Argenta writes, Taika Waititi is voicing IG-88 in Mandalorian. Yeah, I saw that, but I'm not excited about that. Because we already know it's not going to be a situation like Thor Ragnarok, right? It's not going to be Korg, he's going to be talking like this and having a funny accent and saying funny jokes and blah, blah, blah. Like, we already know IG-88 doesn't talk like that. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be heavily modulated. You're not even going to be able to tell it's Taika Waititi. So that's why when I saw that Taika Waititi was doing the voicing, it was like, okay, but that doesn't get me excited because it doesn't really mean anything, right? They probably just did that to save money. Like, hey, why get a voice actor? Why pay a voice actor to come in and read a couple of lines that are going to be heavily modulated anyway? Just, hey, Taika, can you step in and do it since you're here directing an episode anyway? So Taika goes into the sound booth for 15 minutes or so, blah, 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 for 15 minutes, and there you go. I'm guessing, I hope I'm wrong, but you're not even going to be able to tell it's his voice. So I'm not terribly excited about it, one way or the other. RJ TechnoVine writes, Ip Man 4 tease was okay. Excited to see Scott Adkins. I love the Ip Man movies. I get a huge kick out of the Ip Man movies. Sometimes they're kind of ridiculous, but they find a way with Donnie Yen and everything to make the ridiculous seem great. I believe Dave Bautista is also in this one. Yeah, there are a number of things to be excited about. I just love that there's another Ip Man movie coming. Somebody suggested the other day that Donnie Yen should be a villain in a John Wick film. I love that idea. Apex Caliber. Hey, John and Rob. Well, obviously, Rob's not here today. Will Hulu and Disney Plus be a bundled package in order to boost sales for both streaming services? Pros, cons? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to keep them both as I think they're going to keep them separate things. Because remember, Disney is still not the only owner of Hulu. It wasn't like only Disney and Fox owned Hulu. They have other parties as well. So I don't think you're going to see them bundle that together. I don't see there being much of an advantage for it. And I think they're going to keep them and treat them very distinctly. I think they're going to keep them very distinct, and I think they're going to treat them very distinct, and they're going to market them very distinct. Bob Iger, earlier, we can't hold him to this, but earlier he kind of suggested that, hey, yeah, we'll put a lot of our mainstream fare on Disney Plus, and maybe some of our more mature stuff we'll use on a Hulu. Now, he was just spitballing. It doesn't mean he's going to stick to that, but I do believe they're going to keep them very distinct. JM Eister25 writes, Endgame tracking at 250 to 290, hashtag mind blown. Still early. Now remember, Box Office Pro put out 250 to 280 million a while ago, but they had one big asterisk. And their executive said, if this movie comes in at over 3 hours, expect that tracking to drop. Because it limits the amount of show times that you can actually have. That's going to limit the money it can make. It's also going to deter some viewers from going to the movies to see it. And as much as hardcore movie fans say, no, everybody will love a 3.5 hour movie, that's not true. I personally know a lot of people who are just going to take a pass on Endgame in theaters if it ends up being over 3 hours. I'm sure you do too. So we're going to have to wait and see what the runtime of it's going to be. But it's going to be big. It's going to be big. Like, even at the bottom end of that tracking, 250 million, that's pretty much right on par with the opening weekend record. So right now, the low guess is that it's going to be right in around the record for opening weekend. It's crazy. Christopher Benson writes, who's the better rapper turned actor, Mark Wahlberg or Will Smith? Ooh, personally, I lean a little more towards Will Smith. I will too. Both are guys who have become quite good. Both of these guys have become quite good. And I enjoy seeing Mark Wahlberg in films. I enjoy seeing Will Smith in films. I think Wahlberg's great. But listen, when Will Smith is on, dramatically speaking, when Will Smith is on, he's a force. He really is. And we just all think of him as, Slick Willie, whatever. But when he gets down to his dramatic stuff, he can be really quite convincing. And so I will give, while I respect them both and I like them both, I'll give the slight edge to Will Smith on that one. Apex Caliber writes, over under 20%, Wolverine versus Hulk movie phase 5. Under. I think we're going to see a Wolverine, obviously by phase 5. We're going to see him in there, maybe even by the end of phase 4. But that they'd actually do a Wolverine versus Hulk movie, and I'll take the under on that. Apex Caliber follows up, pros, cons of Magneto / Professor X aging slowly MCU. The major con to me is that you're introducing a power to these characters that has never been a part of their power list, all for the sake of manipulating the narrative just to keep something. I see that as a big con, and I wouldn't want them to play around with that personally. So I would rather just see you change their story then change their power set. Say, wait a minute. Why does Magneto age slowly? And Charles slowly? And nobody else does. To me, that's something that's been brought up before Apex by different people. It does not work for me. So I see that as a definite con. KW Garrett 83 writes, Variety reported Disney layoffs started today. Yes, they did. With many people bursting into tears, sad. As a boss yourself, do you find it's the hardest job in the world to let people go? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've had to let people go before. And let me tell you, even when they've deserved to be let go, it's never fun. It's especially never fun when it's somebody you don't want to let go and you wish you didn't have to. It's the worst. It's one of the things that I hated most about what my job became. There's nothing. And again, look, I remember this one time, everyone, I'm not going to give any names here. I remember this one time we had a staff person that the whole staff wanted gone. Everybody wanted them gone. They had acted in a very team destructive kind of way. I had other team members and staff members, including my senior staff people, calling me. I remember I would be at Disneyland and I literally got a call from one of my senior staff people. It was like, get rid of this person now. It's like, whoo, okay. I mean, but even then that conversation was not fun. I didn't like doing it. I've said this before and it's true. My favorite thing in the world about what my job eventually sort of became was being able to find a talented person and give them a job doing what they're talented at. I love that. I love that. Even now, whether it's Ray or Jonathan or Rob or whatever, people who are good at something, I love being able to offer them the ability to earn money while doing something they're really good at. There's something great about that. At the same time, there's nothing that sucks more than having to take something like that away from somebody. But when you're in that position, that's the responsibility that falls to you. And you got to do what is best for the team, and you've got to do what is best for the company. And in the case of the layoffs, there were some reports saying up to 4,000 people lost their jobs. But that's what happens when you're merging these two massive companies together. You're going to get a lot of overlap, and you got to do what's best for the company. And what's best for the company is you got to get rid of the redundant jobs. It sucks. It's terrible. And you know how we're always talking about, this is actually really interesting, KW. You know how we're often talking about, Kevin Feige could not be working on and developing Fantastic Four stuff or X-Men stuff before the final government approvals got made because there's regulatory things in there. That shows, you got to follow the rules and be very, very careful. There were a lot of people at Fox that suspected they were going to be losing their jobs. Because I heard one person say, Fox should have let these people know in advance that they were losing a job. They weren't allowed to. Until that deal got finalized and the final government approval got made, blah, blah, Disney could have known exactly the list of people they were letting go, but they could not even communicate that. They couldn't let them know. They couldn't tell them. There were rules against it, which sucks. Because I can only imagine being one of those Fox employees for the past 6 months, knowing there's a really good chance that when this deal closes, I might lose my job and not knowing. And then today comes, they get a phone call saying, can you come up to HR? And you know what that means. You go up to HR, they let you go. They let you know your job's been eliminated. I can't even imagine. And including a lot of big executives. A lot of big executives lost their jobs. And it's one of the downsides of this whole thing is that, there are 4,000 people in this business. There are lots and lots of people in this business who are talented people, who lost their jobs, who got fired, and all that kind of stuff. And that's 4,000 people out of work as a result of this merger. Doesn't mean the merger was a bad thing. It just means that's unfortunately one of the realities of the whole thing. And it's, it really sucks. It really sucks, but it's part of the reality. Anyway, sorry about that. That was worth talking about for a second. Apex Caliber writes, Hulk film, but disc creative control. Okay, Hulk film, but Disney creative control, Universal distribute. Yeah, I've been saying that forever. Look, Disney's in a position that they can make a Hulk film whenever they want. Disney can make a Hulk film whenever they want. The catch is they can't be the distributor of that film. Universal has the rights to be the distributor of any Hulk movie. Disney doesn't want to make a Hulk movie if somebody else distributes it, so they don't make a movie. Universal's been unwilling to give up those rights, those distribution rights. So that's why the only time you see Hulk is as a supporting character in somebody else's movie. That's why you don't see any standalone Hulk movies. But yes, if Marvel and if Disney and Universal could come to an agreement where Disney goes, okay, fine, we'll make a Hulk movie and you get to distribute, then they can make a Hulk movie. But both of them are kind of being stubborn and neither one of them wants to budge. Stubble McShave writes, I saw Stan and Ollie. It's great. I give it 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, I still haven't seen that. I wanted to see it ever since the first trailer came out, but I've never gotten around to watching it. I really need to one of these times because I'm hearing good things. I've heard some mediocre things, but I've also heard a lot of really good things, including you, Stubble, so I got to check that out. Willow Yang, all of this for what? Because of a puppy? That is one of my favorite moments of the new John Wick thing. And then it goes back to John Wick. It wasn't just any puppy. It was such a great line. I love that so much. John Wiles just sends in a super chat. Thank you, John. Anmal Bajpai writes, missing the big man Schnepp today. Yeah, I didn't know him, but I felt he was my friend. Thanks for all you do. Help me get through my stress and depression. Well, thanks a lot for that, Anmal. It's always great that the film fan community can be an oasis for us as individuals, right? It's great that it can be an oasis for us as individuals. You know, it's funny. I'm just looking to see if it's still here. I opened up my Facebook earlier today, and every once in a while, a memory picture will pop up like, hey, you posted this picture. Like, I think it was 3 years ago. And it was a picture of me. Who was it? It was a picture of me, Schnepp, Dennis, and Harloff sitting in a restaurant. Which one was it? Tony Roma's. We were sitting in Tony Roma's rib place at Universal City Walk, getting ready to watch Batman vs. Superman. I think it was 3 years ago. Anyway. And that popped up on my timeline today. So it's kind of funny that you mentioned that you're thinking of Schnepp today when that happened. And I got that picture popped up. Now I can't find the picture. Now it's not showing it to me. I was going to pull it over and show you guys. But yeah, it popped up on my timeline today. And yeah, there's a lot. I remember when I saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that movie in particular, I think Schnepp would have frickin' lost his mind over. I think Schnepp would have lost his mind on. There was just so much in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse that was like perfect for a viewer like John Schnepp that I think you just would have loved. And I remember the first thing I tweeted, I think, when I came out of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was just saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and all I can really think is how much Schnepp would have loved this movie. And yeah, so we still get those. John Wiles writes, instead of doing Fantastic Four movie, why not bring the characters into other movies first, like they did with Black Widow and I Am Too? Yeah, you can, but I mean, it's Fantastic Four, right? It's like Black Widow is a secondary character at best. The Fantastic Four isn't just one character. It's an entire team of people. So that makes it a little bit more tricky. I think you launch Fantastic Four in their own movie. Whether that's near the end of Phase 4, whether that's in Phase 5 or whatever, but I think you launch Fantastic Four in their own movie. They're more significant historically characters than like a Black Widow or a Falcon or a Bucky, but also they're an entire team of people. It's a little easier to squeeze in one character to kind of introduce that character into a movie. But it's a different thing when you got to squeeze a team of characters in. That's a little different. So, I mean, look, anything's possible, John. They could go that route. It's certainly an option that's open to them. But I think it presents a lot more challenges. I think you just launch Fantastic Four in a Fantastic Four movie. Anmal writes, Iron Man 4, Cap 4, Thor 4, which do you think will happen? I think there's a possibility for all of them to happen. I think the most likely is Thor 4, especially with the way Thor Ragnarok was received by the audience, and the way, like, Thor was basically the highlight to a lot of people in Avengers Infinity War. Across the country, the biggest pop in that movie is when Thor shows up in Wakanda. People have fallen in love with Thor. I've been in love with Thor ever since Thor 1, directed by Kenneth Branagh, but I think they all could happen. I think the most likely is Thor 4. Ben Rayner writes, what did you think of Reva and the triplets on The Gifted as villains? In my opinion, they were great, and they were better than some of the Arrowverse villains. I thought they were, at some points, I thought they were, first of all, I love The Gifted. I love that show. It doesn't look like we're going to get a season 3. Which is unfortunate, but I hope they do. I like them. I like them more at sometimes than others, though. Sometimes I just found them a little bit annoying, but as they started to show some differences in the personalities between the triplets, like some more friendly towards Lorna, some not so much, that's when it started to get more interesting to me. So there's definitely the possibility of things you could do with characters like that in the future, either in a Gifted Season 3 or in other properties, but it was intriguing. James Argento writes, what comes first, Deadpool 3, MCU Fantastic Four, Guardians of the Galaxy 3? I'm going to guess Deadpool 3. Because the big advantage that Deadpool has is that if Bob Iger is sticking to his plan that Deadpool isn't going to be in the MCU, he's going to be under a different banner, then that means it's the easiest film to make. Like with the MCU Fantastic Four, you got to figure out how it fits into the MCU, and you got to do all this kind of stuff. Deadpool 3 is just a movie you can make like any other movie. You don't have to worry about how it fits into anything else. You don't have to map it out. You just, hey, you got a script for Deadpool 3? Okay, there's nothing to stop you from shooting it. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it's got to wait until James Gunn completely wraps and finishes with Suicide Squad 2. That's going to take some time. So I'm going to guess right now Deadpool 3. Any one of the three could be the answer, but I'm going to guess Deadpool is the one that gets made first. Derek Woodron writes, morning, everyone. Seeing Shazam this Saturday with my oldest 3 friends and their kids. Great way to spend my last Saturday before moving to Atlanta. Ooh, I like Atlanta. I got to go to Atlanta for a week once for a big AMC leadership conference at this big, massive convention they hold every year. And they did it in Atlanta the one year. And I got to go and hang out there. And it was my first time in Atlanta. I really enjoyed that city. Anyway, yeah, me too, man. Gonna go see it tomorrow. I got my Shazam shirt ordered and it came in and I'm all excited to put it on and go and see it. I cannot wait, guys. I cannot wait to see this movie. Watch for my review to go up tomorrow afternoon after I see it. Jin Yuhichi writes, Jin Yuhichi writes, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. Forgive me. I'm terrible at names. Jin Yuhichi. You actually brought up, I think I actually came close. If you can make your own lightsaber, what color and hilt design suits you? I have a custom curved hilt with I would go classic. I'd go blue lightsaber, classic, original hilt. That's just the one that first captured my imagination. It's the one that when I think lightsaber, that's what I think. So I will go classic blue, with the classic hilt. That's totally me, man, because that's the one I fell in love with. That's the one that got me, when I fell in love with Star Wars, that was the image of the lightsaber. So classic blue, classic hilt for me all the way. Yours sounds really cool too, but man, I'm going with the classics. I'm going to go with classics. Murray Reich sends in a super chat. Thank you, Murray. Jesse the Savage writes, since Avatar is the biggest box office hit, can you name 3 characters from Avatar and no cheating? Hashtag Han had it coming. Han did have it coming. Yeah. So, Quaritch is the villain. You got Jake, who is the lead guy. You had Grace. You had Norm. You had Parker. You had Trudy, was the Michelle Rodriguez character. You had Neytiri, which is of course was Gamora's character. You had, so there's 7. So there's a bunch of, who are some of the other ones? I can't remember any of the other ones off the top of my head, but anyway, there you go. Chris Warden writes, I've seen Captain Marvel twice now and really enjoy it. In my opinion, it's not as good as Guardians of the Galaxy 1, but I would say it's better than Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Either way, the MCU is on fire. Yeah, I kind of put Captain Marvel on the same level of films as Guardians 1, but if I had to then sort that level of films, I think, yeah, I enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy 1 a little bit more. Definitely like it more than Guardians of the Galaxy 2, so I'm with you on that. I've seen it a number of times now. And yeah, it's like, actually, it's funny because I had a late dinner after watching Us with my buddy Soul Video last night. And we were talking about that. And he's seen Captain Marvel 3 times now. Just because he just recently got A-list. So he's going A-list crazy right now. So he's gone to watch it 3 times. Because his work is like right by the AMC Burbank 16. So he goes, when I first saw Captain Marvel, I liked it, but I didn't think it was great. Then I watched the second time and I thought, you know what? I really like it. And then the third time I watched it, he said, nah, this is great. So he really enjoyed it too. So maybe it's just one of those films that you appreciate it more the more you watch it. Jay Bling writes, love the Matrix reference in John Wick 3 trailer. Guns, lots of guns. Don't you dare say it isn't a reference, John. Don't you dare. It's not a reference to the Matrix. No, I'm just kidding. That is literally a direct line lifted from the Matrix. You know, when the operator is, what do you need? And him and Trinity are in the white room. Guns. Lots of guns. And then all the shelves of guns come flying in. All that kind of stuff. That was clearly a direct homage and reference to Matrix. And I'm totally with you, Jay Bling. I totally loved it. I thought that was great. Aaron Moen writes, are 20th Century Fox, Fox 2000, Fox Searchlight separate studios under Fox? They're all separate studios under Disney now. Fox 2000 is, I believe, getting shut down. Fox 2000 is being kept open right now, but only to finish. I think they've got 2 films left on their slate that they're getting ready to wrap up. Once those 2 films are wrapped up, Disney is shutting down Fox 2000. So that's going away. However, Fox Searchlight, 20th Century Fox, and I believe one other are still going to be in existence. They will still be in existence, and they will still have their existing leadership. Like Disney will keep, like the head of 20th Century Fox will still be the head of 20th Century Fox. The head of Fox Searchlight will still be the head of Fox Searchlight. The head of what's their animation division called? Blue something or other, will still be the head. And they will now all report to Alan Horn, who is the High Lord of all movie stuff when it comes to Marvel. And then Alan Horn himself only reports to Bob Iger, the supreme emperor of all things Disney. So all these Fox Studio guys, the Fox Studio people, Kevin Feige for Marvel, Kathleen Kennedy for Lucasfilm, what's the guy's name who's running Pixar? It starts with an S. Anyway, the guy running Pixar, the lady running Disney Animation, the guy running Disney Studios, all those people now report to Alan Horn. So Alan Horn's job just got a whole lot bigger. Jin Yuhichi writes, how do you feel the fan hype for episode 9 is? For me, it's lower than I feel it should be. I love Star Wars all my life, but episode 8 really disappointed me. I liked Star Wars 8, but it was a step down from The Force Awakens for me, but I still enjoyed it. It's kind of right where I expect it to be right now. Look, the reality is we're in March. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. The movie is 9 months away. So if, your girlfriend got pregnant today, your baby's going to be born by the time this movie comes out, right? So it's still like a full 9 months away. It's 9 months away as Disney is putting all their attention on Avengers right now. So that's kind of the big play. And we haven't had Star Wars Celebration come out. So Star Wars has released nothing. We don't even have a title for the Star Wars movie yet. They haven't even begun to ramp up any of the hype machine yet. Nor should they. The movie's still 9 months away. So you're going to see that start to change once Celebration comes. Because Celebration, in all likelihood, is going to give us a title. And Celebration, in all likelihood, is going to give us our first teaser trailer. Once that happens, you're going to see the start of the hype machine. Then, once Disney has Avengers Endgame already out in the theater and now in their rearview mirror, then they'll start turning their big guns towards promoting Star Wars Episode 9. So right now, the hype is exactly where I would expect it to be. Because we don't even have a title for the movie yet, right? And we've got Avengers Endgame coming in less than a month, or in about a month. So It's kind of exactly where I expect it to be. Let's have this conversation again in 2 months, though. Let's have this conversation again in 2 months, and then let's start to measure. 2 months from now, let's start to measure where the hype is. For now, it's right where I think it would. I would expect it to be. Murray Reich writes, have you ever gone to an NHL Winter Classic game? I have never gone to an NHL Winter Classic game. Now, I've played in a lot of outdoor hockey games, but I've never been to an NHL Classic game, which really, really sucks because I would love to sometime. Jordan Huxtable writes, Deadpool 3, Deadpool kills the Fox Marvel Universe. That would be great. For those of you who don't know, there's this great comic series that Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, right? Where Deadpool kind of gets taken control of by this entity, and he basically goes around and starts killing everybody in the Marvel Universe. He kills them all. He kills everybody. It's one of the craziest things. Wouldn't that be a hoot if the first thing Disney did with Deadpool is a Deadpool kills the X-Men, and that's how you wipe out the old Fox X-Men and to introduce new X-Men into the MCU. That would be a hoot. Okay, Jordan Huxtable writes, and directed by Quentin Tarantino, one can dream. That would be something that would be right up his alley. Luke Blackwell writes, John, over under 100%. Groot kills Thanos. I'll take the under on that. I will take the under on that. Danny Cortez writes, John, I may be wrong, but didn't Kevin Feige say a long while ago that after Phase 3, there will be no more MCU phases and just continuous films? I think he might have said something that was interpreted that way. I don't remember him specifically saying that. And, yeah, so I don't know. And besides, really, the phases thing was kind of started by the fans. The fans started this whole idea of Phase 1 and Phase 2. So then Marvel kind of jumped onto it with Phase 3 and all this kind of stuff. And now we're heading into Phase 4. Again, it might be something that may have been interpreted from something that he said, but I think they're still going to look at it in phases. I mean, but either way, who cares? It's just semantics. At the end of the day, it's just semantics. They're going to keep making movies. So whether they call it in phases or not is really kind of irrelevant at the end of the day. Let's see. Give Luigi a ring writes, hey guys, finally saw Stan and Ollie. You're the second person today to say that. I loved it. John C. Reilly and Coogan got their mannerisms down at the end. Really got me in the feels, mostly because I remember watching Laurel and Hardy at my grandparents' when I was a kid on endless VHS tapes. Sadly, they both passed now. Did you guys see it? And what is the movie that takes you back memories like that? Love the show, and thanks for all you do. First, I remember, like, my mom used to watch a lot of reruns of stuff. And I remember my mom would watch whenever there was stuff like Abbott and Costello stuff or Laurel and Hardy and things like that. And I got in Three Stooges and whatever. I remember there's one network that always ran the old shows, like Three Stooges, Laurel and Hardy stuff, you name it. So I used to see a lot of that stuff too, but not on VHS per se. It's still not one I had a chance to see though. So, and then I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I still want to see Stan and Ollie, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. One that really takes me back, I think, is Wizard of Oz for me. Because for a lot of years, too, it would still be a movie that I don't know why it became a Christmas movie in my house. My family would watch Wizard of Oz a lot around Christmas time, like that and the old A Christmas Carol. My mom would watch that and she'd put that on. So those are the movies that for me, that really take me back. But it's great, Luigi, when we can have these movies that not only do we enjoy watching them and do we get a big kick out of them, but can we have memories attached to those. And that's one of the great things about movies. We create memories. And when you can have like a franchise like Laurel and Hardy that can do that, and they come out with new stuff that really elicits those memories, that's always special and really, really nice. So thanks for sharing that, Luigi. I appreciate that. That Wrestling Hound writes, why do you keep saying that Feige is going to take his time with Fantastic Four? Remember when he rushed Spidey? I've answered this about 4 times in the last 4 days. But anyway, remember when he rushed Spidey? He didn't rush Spidey. He was in Civil War, then his movie in 2017, and they had 2 versions of Civil War, one with Spidey and one without. Okay, as I've said many times in the last couple of days already, there is a major, major difference between the Sony and Disney deal for Marvel to be able to use Spider-Man and the Fox Disney takeover. In the Disney takeover of Fox, there are government regulations in place. There are massive amounts of approvals and things that had to get done and all these sorts of things that prevented Kevin Feige from really being able to do anything. Remember, Noah Hawley even talked about the fact that Feige couldn't even discuss Doctor Doom with him. Noah had been working on this Doctor Doom script. All Kevin Feige could ask him was, hey, were you still working on that script? And that's it. Kevin Feige wasn't able to communicate with him about the script. He wasn't able to look at his script. He wasn't able to do anything because there were still a lot of hurdles that had to be cleared, and they couldn't at all make themselves look like they were in conflict of interest. He couldn't at all look like they were subverting the system and getting around the system and blah, blah, blah. This was a $71 billion deal that they could not risk. So, in the Disney Fox situation, you have it where, okay, now Kevin Feige can really start putting the things in motion to get a Fantastic Four movie eventually done, to get X-Men brought into the universe. Now he can start working on that. That wasn't the case with the Disney and Sony deal. Because with Disney and Sony, that wasn't a corporate takeover. That wasn't something that required government approvals or had governmental regulations that had to be followed. None of that. Kevin Feige, they revealed a long time ago, was actually working on Spider-Man more than a year before they announced the Spider-Man and Marvel deal. More than a year before that deal got announced, he was already working on it because he was allowed to. They knew they had a lot of legal work to do. They know they had to get this contract, this 500-page contract, hammered out, blah, 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 but they knew this is going to get done. It's going to take us time, but this is what's happening. You're going to have Spider-Man in Marvel, so start planning it. And it was much earlier than a year before the announcement was even made. Kevin Feige didn't rush Spider-Man into Civil War. He had a long time to prep and plan and make arrangements, make the deals, do all that kind of stuff. The kind of things he didn't have in this Fox Disney deal. That had a lot more complications because it was a full corporate company takeover with regulations to follow, government approvals needed, blah, blah, and a lot of oversight happening, all that kind of stuff. They are very, very different situations. And there are a lot of people who just go, well, wait a minute. They made the Spider-Man deal and then Spider-Man was in Civil War not too terribly long later. Well, yes, but unlike this, he had been able to lay the groundwork, do all the work, do all the planning, all that stuff before the public even knew that such a deal was in the works. That's not the case with Disney Fox. Now look, the other thing I have said repeatedly over the past couple of days is just because it's not in Kevin Feige's character or his modus operandi to rush something out, that doesn't mean he couldn't do it in this one circumstance. That doesn't mean he couldn't do it now if he really wanted to. All I'm saying is just recognize that would be completely outside of his regular philosophy, and it would be completely working outside of the guidelines he had created that has made everything such a success. Like, he's had Doctor Strange under Marvel's control forever. For 10 years, they've had it under their control. It's like, we've got Doctor Strange. We got to make a movie right now. No, he waited years and waited years until the time was right and they were ready to do a Doctor Strange movie. Why now, all of a sudden that, okay, they got Fantastic Four. Quick, make a movie right now. Make a movie right now of Fantastic Four right now. Don't wait. Do it right now. Why? What's the purpose of that? What's the purpose of that right now? Feige's got a plan. Let him stick to his plan. Maybe that plan does include him rushing something out. Maybe it does. I just don't understand. I still to this day do not understand this irrational wave of thought that is surrounding all of our fandom right now. That is like, wait, you got Fantastic Four rights? Make a movie now! Why? He didn't do that with Black Panther. He didn't do that with Ant-Man. He didn't do that with Doctor Strange. He waited till he was ready, that the story was right, that it fit into his MCU the way he wanted it to fit in, and then he made those movies. And look at the success they've had. Why do we suddenly want him to not act like that? Why do we suddenly want him to start acting like, quite frankly, the way DC acted before Walter Hamada took over? Well, let's do this. No, let's do this. Oh, let's change our minds. Oh, let's be reactionary. Blah, blah, blah. Do we really want Kevin Feige to start acting like that? Or do we want Kevin Feige to act like Kevin Feige and to do what he does best, the way he knows how to do it best? Again, he may do it. We may get a Fantastic Four movie announcement sometime in the next 6 months. It's possible. Sure it is. I just don't get our film fandom that seems to forget what disasters happen when you don't just take your time, no need to rush something out. Just because you have the rights now and you can make a movie now doesn't mean you should make a movie right now. Do it in your time, do it in your plan, do it on your schedule, Kevin Feige, and ignore what everybody else is saying. Because when Kevin Feige does that, we get winner movies. When we've seen other studios not do that, we've seen disasters. So again, he might do it. He might. I'm just saying a lot of things point towards him not doing it, and I just don't think we as fans should be screaming for a Fantastic Four movie right now when, why do we want him to suddenly rush this? Why do we suddenly want him to throw his other plans out the window just to facilitate this? Why not take your time like you did with Black Panther, like you did with Ant-Man, like you did with Doctor Strange, like you did with Guardians of the Galaxy? Why not take your time and do it when it's right? Let Kevin Feige do Kevin Feige, and let's just relax. Maybe we'll get one in the next couple of years. Maybe we got to wait longer. But if we have to wait longer, I guarantee you it'll be worth it. And the results will be great. So let's just see. Okay. Luke Blackwell writes, I hope we see a lot of Hulk in Endgame and not that stupid Iron Man suit. Make Hulk great again. Oh, I do too. Now look, I'm willing to take whatever the Russos give me. If that means we get 1 minute of Hulk, fine. If it means we get 20 glorious minutes of Hulk, awesome. I'm just in a position as a fan right now, Luke, that I trust Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers and whatever amount of Hulk they give us. But I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that deep down I wasn't looking forward to seeing some Hulk smash. That'd be pretty great. Ben C. writes, in the first Endgame trailer, we see Thanos' armor out in the open, but didn't he left it behind the Asgardian ship before he destroyed it at the beginning of Infinity War? Do you think... Here's the thing, Ben. Do you think this is the only black t-shirt I have? 90% of my shows, I'm wearing a black t-shirt. I have a drawer filled with about 30 plain black t-shirts. Do you think this is the only one that I have? I'm pretty sure, and you see the size of Thanos' mothership? You don't think he's got room for a walk-in closet? I would propose that Thanos probably has multiple copies of his armor. That's my guess. And he doesn't just have one. When you're like the most powerful being on the planet, you can probably have that. So I wouldn't worry. That to me is not an issue. I mean, it's very observant of you, Ben. That is true, what you're pointing out. But I just don't think that's an issue because I'm sure he had multiple outfits. Let's see. That Wrestling Hound writes, also, I've been watching you since the AMC days. Thank you so much. That Wrestling Hound, I appreciate that, man. It's been a while since the AMC days. That's starting to become a while ago. Ben Rayner writes, I've heard a rumor that you were bitten by a king cobra. Yeah, I was, but after 5 days of agonizing pain, the cobra died. That was from Expendables with Chuck Norris. That's when Chuck Norris appears. I still remember that scene because the guys, they're in this big gun battle in the street, and they're pinned down and they're running out of ammo, and then all of a sudden, you hear all this machine gun fire, and all the bad guys start to drop and die. It's like, what's going on? And then out of the smoke comes walking Chuck Norris. And Chuck Norris and Sylvester Stallone, I heard you, or whether it was, no, it might have been Dolph Lundgren that said, I heard you got bit by a king cobra. Hello. Hi, buddy. I've been joined here by, some of you guys may know, I've been dog sitting. Hey, boy. I've been dog sitting this great guy here. This is Grizzly. He's a dog of some friends of ours. Whenever they go out of town, we always watch him. And he's just been patiently sitting in my office here, laying down on the other side of my desk. But I guess he decided he needed to get pet, so he came walking over to get pet. Hey, boy. He's a big boy. Yeah, you're a big boy, aren't you? But he's good. Okay, go lay down. Go lay down. Good boy. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, that was brought to you by Grizzly. So, good boy, Grizz. Go lay down. He's going to go lay down beside my guitar now. Good boy. Okay, anyway. Yes, Chuck Norris in The Expendables. Okay, let's see. What's up first here? Angry Irish Benjamin writes, have you seen the Is a Disney Princess memes? No, but now I can tell you exactly what I'm going to do as soon as the show's over, because now I want to go find those. James LH writes, hey John, first super chat in a while. Well, hello, James. Curious, in the Endgame trailer, we only get the odd shot of Banner. Do you think they're keeping something for the big final trailer or the film itself? Yeah, I'm not suspicious of the fact that we only get the odd shot of him. I mean, we get more shots of him than we do of Okoye, or like we really don't get a lot of Scott, and we certainly don't get a lot of War Machine. So yeah, we only get the odd shot of Bruce, but really we get about as much Bruce as anybody else other than, say, Cap, Iron Man, and maybe Widow. But we pretty much get the same. But do I think they're saving like some Hulk shots? Yeah, because I do believe, I don't know this for sure, I do believe we're going to get the Hulk. And I don't really see a reason to show us any Hulk stuff in the trailers. I think you can give us a big boom trailer without necessarily showing us Hulk. So I believe they can do that. So yeah, I do believe they're going to save a lot of the money stuff for Bruce, whether he's in the form of Bruce or in the form of Hulk. I think they're going to save a lot of that for the movie itself. I think there's plenty of material you can give us for a boom trailer without doing a Hulk reveal, because they've kind of been teasing and hiding Hulk even in Infinity War, right? Ever since his first fight with Thanos. So yeah, James, I think you're onto something there. I really do think they're going to keep that under wraps for now. So let's wait and see if that actually turns out to be true. Okay. Next up, AFC writes, over under 20%, we see Tony's vision true from Ultron in Endgame. I got to keep reminding people of this. That was not a vision. Tony did not have a vision of the future. Remember, Scarlet Witch did not have the power to show people the future. Scarlet Witch only had the power in that scene in Ultron to show somebody their deepest fears. Tony being responsible, Tony failing and being responsible for the death of everybody was his deepest fear. And that's what Scarlet Witch showed him. She didn't show him the future, so it wasn't a vision per se. It was really more of a nightmare. It was more of a nightmare, so it wasn't a vision of the future. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, Koba fight for Koba, Koba belong in cage. Koba was such a great character in those Apes movies, like such a good character. Because they actually gave him an arc. They actually gave him a character arc. He wasn't just a character, okay, I'm Koba and this is what I'm like. We saw Koba as a character and then change and evolve, and we learned his history and we became understanding of the character, ultimately before becoming the villain, all that kind of stuff. He was a great character and I love that. Luke Blackwell writes, will you watch all the Avengers movies in prep for Endgame? Nah, probably not. Only because I've seen them all multiple times. I've been watching Ultron a little bit this past year again anyway, and I own Infinity War, so I've seen it like 12 times, so probably not. No, I don't feel any need to do that. Now, I don't know, maybe a friend of mine, a couple of friends might want to get together and say, hey, we're going to go all see Endgame tomorrow. Let's get together at your place and order some food and watch Infinity War one more time. Maybe then we'll do that. But like, am I planning to sit down and rewatch them all in prep? No, because I've seen them all so many times, so probably not. AFC writes, shout out to Gilbert. Loved his view on yesterday's show. Gilbert, of course, is Rob's dog that often makes an appearance on the show. Apex Caliber writes, what if the X-Men and MCU are separate universes, but Captain Marvel or etc. gives Wolverine a portal device to travel back and forth between universes? Pros and cons? I think it's nothing but a con. It's nothing but a con. Look, even in the comic books, they realized multi-dimensional stuff was ruining the comics. It was ruining the comics. And so, they ultimately came up with this crisis thing to kind of merge everything back into one thing because it was just becoming ridiculous. I don't even like the multiverse stuff they do in the Arrowverse. And that's why I think a lot of the times they've gotten away from doing storylines pertaining to the multiverse. Because it's cool for hardcore inside baseball comic nerds like us, but for the general audience, I think it just comes across as silly and dumb. So either just have them in two separate universes and keep them separate, or put them in the same universe. But this whole, let's open up portals and jump back and forth between different universes, I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. I'm really not. Anyway, Anthony R. writes, Mickey Mouse has a couple of more Infinity movie studios to go. Yeah. You know what's funny? I was having this discussion last night with my buddy Soul, and we were talking about, Soul was asking me, okay, so is Disney now basically a monopoly? Which is funny because I've had a few people ask me that on the show recently too. My answer to that is no. Like, look, when you look at the big movie entertainment landscape, it's one thing. But look at, like, say, soft drinks. There's only two companies. There's Coke and there's Pepsi. And Coke and Pepsi combined almost own every other soda brand there is. Right? So it really is almost a monopoly just down between just two things. Disney is a big player now. But let's not pretend they're a monopoly. They're still Paramount. They're still Universal, which is huge. There's still Warner Brothers, which is huge. There's still Lionsgate, and then even smaller level competition like A24 or STX and Blumhouse and blah, blah, blah. There is still, and then if you go beyond just the traditional movie studio competition, you've got things like Amazon Prime, you've got Netflix, it's really not close to being any sort of a monopoly at this point. Are they the biggest and strongest player in the game right now? Yes, but that can change pretty quick. That can change quick. So, yeah, they still, I don't know that the government would ever approve of them taking over another studio. Not that any other studio is for sale right now anyway, but I would be hard pressed to believe that, the FTC would allow Disney to say take over Universal. Well, I think actually Universal may have more money than Disney does, but because they're owned by Comcast. Anyway, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that all goes, Anthony. Cardo the Bassist writes, Closer 04, which is nice, was my intro to Jude Law and Clive Owen. We've got Jude Law. Whenever I say J Law, I just think Jennifer Lawrence. We've got Jude Law in the MCU now. I vote for Clive Owen to play Punisher if the character ever joins the MCU. I don't know. Clive might be getting a little bit old to play Punisher. Hey, Google, how old is Clive Owen?
Clive Owen is 54 years old.
So Clive Owen's 54, so actually it's not bad. It's not as bad as I thought. I don't know what happened to Clive Owen. Like, especially once you got to a movie like Children of Men, which is so good. If you haven't seen Children of Men, watch Children of Men, guys. It's so good. Anyway, he was like a big star for a while, and it looked like he was poised to be like a dominant A-list star, and then it just kind of feels like he just disappeared. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, he's getting like these bit roles in like, what's the City of a Thousand Planets? What was the name of that movie again? Something, City of a Thousand Planets. Anyway, he's getting like small bit roles in that. Clive Owen? I don't know. I don't know about getting him into the MCU. I just know I would love to see Clive Owen become a major player again because the dude is just too talented. Okay, time for just 3 more questions, guys, then we're going to wrap it up today. San Salvatore writes, been a fan since the Man of Steel review. Thank you so much, San. And I want to say thank you. Your strength and courage helped me deal with being sexually assaulted by a quote-unquote friend. Well, I really appreciate that, San. And what San's referring to is that a while ago I let everybody know that because it came up in topic, and I decided to let people know that I had been sexually molested as a child, as a kid. Not by any family member or anything like that, but that is something that I survived through. And I appreciate you, San, sending that in and having the guts and courage to write what had happened to you, that you were a victim. And I think that's great. And I'm touched that you got something out of me sharing my story as well. So I'm humbled and thank you very much for sharing that, San. I really appreciate that. And all strength to you, sir. Strength and honor, buddy. Strength and honor. All right. Intergalactic writes, prediction. At the end of Parabellum, we see John Wick get unplugged from the Matrix. Well, listen. Don't laugh. If this was it for the John Wick universe, like if they said this is the final chapter of the John Wick story, no, like this was it, right? And it's not, because we know they're doing like a Continental Hotel spin-off series that John Wick's going to be in. There's probably going to be a John Wick 4, blah, blah, blah. But if this was the final one and they said it, I would give an over-under number of like a solid 20% that they do that. What a hilarious way to end that. That would be great. So I'm going to say absolutely no chance because this thing is going to be ongoing. This story of the John Wick and John Wick universe is going to keep going. But if it were ending right now, I would give it a solid 20% chance that they do something like that in Intergalactic. All right, let's see. All right, now I'll take 3 more, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll do Paul's. We'll get to Paul's, and we'll wrap it up here. Kevin Lewis writes, for years, whispers of creatures who can end droughts, storm, form small glaciers in the desert, Iceman, and Bigfoot, Beast, etc., stay in the shadows as urban legends and folklore until Battle of New York reveal themselves only after witnessing beings like them, Avengers, X-Men into the MCU. Though here's the big problem with that, Kevin, and I've had other people suggest something along those lines as well. But here's the big weakness of an argument like that. The story of the mutants in their universe is a societal problem. And it's a systemic societal problem that had to be addressed because you're talking about families that get torn apart. Because remember, mutants, their mutations start to show around puberty, I believe. So you got these great sub-stories. One of my favorite scenes ever in any X-Men film was X-Men 2. When Bobby and I think it's Rogue and Pyro go to Bobby, Iceman's family's place. And, you know, that whole conversation, have you ever tried not being a mutant? Because there's an obvious homosexuality kind of parable being told there. And the notion that Pyro, there's this great scene where Pyro looks at this happy family picture of Bobby with his family, and the look on Pyro's face, without having to do flashbacks, without having to have dialogue, told you Pyro's story with just a look of his face. That clearly Pyro does not come from that happy family. That Pyro's family rejected him when his mutation started to show, and blah, blah, blah. That sort of thing you can't keep to urban legend. If you have thousands of families across the U.S. dealing with this and finding out their kid is a mutant, that's a little bit different. So in order to do what you're kind of proposing, Kevin, and there is upside to it, but to do that means you have to fundamentally change our understanding of what mutants are, how they manifest, the whole socio ramifications of that and the family dynamics and how it tears families apart and all this kind of stuff. You have to get rid of some of the really emotionally meaty stuff that is in there that makes X-Men more than just a pew pew, we have superpowers kind of movie, you know. They have real socio-political, emotional, family dynamic stuff, all this kind of stuff, and you'd have to kind of tear away all of that to just say, there are some adults with these powers and they've kept themselves hidden until now, right? It takes away all that stuff. So there might be a way to fuse that, Kevin. There might be a way to fuse something like that in with a larger story, with more emotional weight. Maybe. But my first reaction is to shy away from it, but maybe there's a way. We'll have to wait and see. At least you're thinking outside the box, Kevin, and I appreciate that. All right. Final one today comes to us from Paul Diego, who writes, what if I just send you a super chat? Very funny. Well done, Paul. And thank you for sending that in, man. That's really generous of you. And thank you for supporting the channel in that way. I appreciate it a great deal. All right, guys. Listen, for all of you guys who still have super chat questions there, from John, Icy Bubba, I love that name, that's great. Robert Tari, Asmer Junkie, all the way down. Do not worry, your question is going to get answered in a video today. A little bit later, I'm going to be putting up a companion video, and I will get to all of these super chat questions that got sent in today. Keep your eyes open for that a little bit later. But for now, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, guys, tomorrow we're going to have an open mic at 12 noon tomorrow. Make sure you come and join us for that open mic. And then I'm going to go see Shazam, so watch for my Shazam review a little bit later tomorrow. Tomorrow late afternoon is when I'll put my Shazam review up. I'm so excited to see Shazam. I know a lot of you guys are too. Make sure you come back and join me for that, guys. Hey, listen, guys, if you're somebody who enjoys watching my programming, do me a favor. head on over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. Find out what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps shows like the John Campea Show on the air, and then a few little perks there are of being a John Campea supporter. And if you decide to become a Patreon supporter of the John Campea Show, that's awesome. And if not, that's totally cool. I'm just grateful that you're here being a film fan with us. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until the next show, bye-bye.